Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm JJ Flazanes.
Why are you giggling already? We haven't even done anything yet. How are you giggling already?
Because everyone that listens to the show that has met you or knows you has probably guessed that we edit out like 2 or 3 takes before we even start this because you go into nice guys on business mode of the fuckery days where you're like,
watch your language.
Blah, 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 blah. Sorry, guys. That's really the name of the show.
Oh, well, there's 2 shows then, if that's the case. So I have 2 shows. Have we converted any women, men in relationships or spirit, purpose, and energy people over to nice guys on business?
No, but I think we have a few nice guys listeners who listen to this show.
Well, that's not fair. People, what are you doing? Come on. Well, I got a business to run here.
Right. For the 25 people that listen to the nice guys on business.
What show are you talking? Hold on a second.
Not the main show.
You are getting it. Okay, that would be like me saying to you. Wow, I can't believe how small an audience you have listening to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I love those episodes where you and Doug talk deep about relationships. And you would say what?
That's what we do.
No, that's the wrong show. Women, Men, and Relationships is the show we talk about relationships.
Actually, it goes on that show too.
Well, I don't know how you do this. This is all
I know. You might want to pay attention to where they go.
That would mean I'd have to listen.
It does. And I think you remember on the list of positive aspects that I made, my wish list, one of the things said someone who listens to my show occasionally.
Occasionally. Well, I do listen when you send me the links, and then I listen about half the time.
Okay. So Domino just jumped on my head. We want to talk about... Well, Doug actually got done recording with Strickland yesterday for Nice Guys, and he was complaining how Strickland just wanted to fix everything, that he was being such a dude, and he just wanted to fix everything. And Doug said, I want to talk about how I feel about it. If you were to fix everything, we wouldn't even have a show.
Why do we have a show if all we're going to do is get on? I'm going to tell you a problem and you're going to fix it. Game over. It'll be like literally a 60-second show. And I wanted to lament. I wanted to stay within the drama for just a few moments. I wanted to just open up. I wanted him to provide a safe space. If there was 2 of us and we were together physically, I wanted both of us to circle it up a little. And there was no circle on the Nice Guys on Business.
Right. So he said, we should talk about this on the show because, of course, it's a new concept for Doug, whether the act or just noticing what it is and what is needed and the dynamic between he and Strickland, because while Doug is a dude, he was recognizing the difference between the masculine and feminine in their conversation.
Well, and when I was having the conversation with him and I was talking about an issue or a problem or something, I don't even remember the subject matter of it, but he was like, well, what's your point? And I'm like, I have no point. He says, you've just covered this. And I said, I know. Well, you don't have to. And then he went into, well, this is what we could do, A, B, C, D, and E. And I'm like, I don't need the problem solved. Strickland, I just need a safe space in which to share my feelings.
Wrong show.
Totally the wrong show. And I've never been so able to get in touch with my feelings as I have been over the last couple of years since we've been together. And it's not that the people that were in my life wouldn't allow me to get in touch with my feelings, but I had no idea what that even meant. And maybe it was a case where I was doing it and not even realizing what I was doing. Or I know in particular in the last marriage that I was in, that there would have to be this emotional dump every quarter or every 4 months or every 5 months or whatever it was. And I kept thinking, what the hell is going on? How can I fix this? One of our biggest arguments was after a movie, and she was really emotional about it. And I got so mad at her. I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? I thought she was angry with me. It was one of our biggest arguments.
Well, didn't she tell you it wasn't about you?
Yeah, but I didn't believe her.
See, this is where communication would have helped everything. Of course, I'm not upset about that. I'm just pointing out. In fact, today I thought, I have an idea for a new show or a new event. How about improving communication? That's general enough. Men, would you come to that?
And then what did I say when you said, would men come to that?
You said no.
No, and why wouldn't they?
Because men only care about 3 things: money, power, and sex. I said that. You said men only care about 3 things, and then I said money, power, and sex.
It is true. Now, there are some guys that are out there, and I'm sure many in our listening community, we have to come up with a name of our community. There's got to be a name.
let's leave them as the community for
I
right
know,
now.
but as the problems come up, I want to solve them right now. That's part of the guy in me.
Maybe they just want you to tell how you feel. They don't want the problem solved. I put that out there because I know that every single woman in the boot camp who is with a man wanted to share, and not that half of them wanted to come without them because they wanted their own space and time.
They wanted a space to be able to
safely
vent.
to not feel like they had to worry about someone else's feelings. And actually, someone after the event said something to me about our relationship and what a great example we've been for people. And hopefully, you guys all feel that listening to that. And if you don't, that's okay. But there was a good opinion that we're a good example of love and commitment and conversation, communication, and fun. And
just give us a minute. We'll fix that.
What does that mean?
No, I'm just kidding. I really do feel like we have been a good example, and not for the sake of being a good example, but because we are living the practice that we share with our community. So I really do like that a lot.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about that because we never talked about, like, the last show that you and I have done together was insecurity in relationships. And so I put it out there to people, and I got some feedback about thank you for being vulnerable. I got some feedback, oh yes, I felt that way too.
Oh, this was the name calling incident, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And some feedback was, well, maybe you feel that way because Doug's it, and he's your number one, and he's your future, and I thought about that, and that's true. I think it is probably the fear, and it probably is some kind of an illusion that we look for in a name, in a title. I mean, hell, you're the first to know this. I think I used to tell single women who just really wanted to get married. And I'm like, dude, getting married doesn't mean anything. You can get divorced. Just because you're married doesn't mean you're in a good marriage. It doesn't mean anything except you got someone to ask you to marry them.
I was just having that same conversation with a friend of mine that is in town, and we were walking down, we were holding hands, strolling on the beach. Me and Troy.
Another bromance. Another bromance.
So I thought it was really cool. So a buddy of mine who was a friend of my brother's before my brother passed early last year. What year is that? Was that early this year? Holy shit. God, that was just 6 months,
March.
7 months ago. That was just a short time ago. I have to start grieving at some point, I think. I don't know.
You grieved.
I know. I miss my brother. Troy was a really good buddy of my brother's, and I think that he misses my brother too. We had a fairly long conversation just about my brother today and relationships and friendships. Totally something that two guys would typically not talk about, their feelings. And I was really enjoying the conversation, and we were walking down the Strand. For those of you who don't know what the Strand is, it's a sidewalk, a large sidewalk that is right in front of multi-million-dollar homes between the homes and the beach in California, in LA. And we were just talking about, I guess, the delicate nature of the word marriage and the false sense of security that one might have for just using the word "I'm married." He was talking about just relationships that he has had in the past, and he got married for the first time very much later in life. Yeah, I think he was in his 40s, and he was just talking about the idea behind putting that label of married into his relationship, and that his significant other wanted a little bit more security. So I said, because you put the name, the word marriage, because you put a ring on her finger, why is there more of a sense of security with that than we joked about it at the last retreat where we were talking about we're not going to get married, we're going to get incorporated.
That was my idea. Because I don't know that I want to get married again, but I do want to be with you. And
I don't feel any insecurity to that.
And the reason,
with that.
One of the most logical reasons to get married is the legal and financial aspects that, with tax write-offs and stuff. And I thought, well, you have a business, I have a business. We're going to get married. We can get incorporated. I'll still have the ring. You can still get down on one knee. We can still have a party, but we won't need to get married. We'll just get incorporated.
We're going
to have an incorporation party.
Instead of a reception, we're going to have an open house.
Exactly. We'll sell some shit. No, I'm kidding.
We are going, you know what? We're going to have a live event. We're not going to get married. We're going to have a live event.
You have to pay to come to our... I'm kidding.
That's great.
Isn't that funny, though,
yes,
to
that
think
would be
about?
a great way to spin it. Hey, and everything could be a write-off then.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. That was the whole point.
Perfect. Then we definitely we could have sponsors. we could have an exhibit hall.
A big party.
We could have let's see, we could have like a, what do you call not a formal, what do you call them at a reception?
Yes.
Not a what do you call the
Expo?
expo? Right. Okay, we'll call it an
expo.
expo. We could have an expo. We'd have speakers come in.
I think you're getting a little out of hand right now. I think we could.
Fun.
I think we could probably do it in a way that makes it look like we paid for it all, but actually it was all sponsored and
Wow.
it's a write-off,
Okay.
and we can make money on it. So back to the topic at hand, as we've completely gone on a
Welcome
crazy.
to the Nice Guys
right,
on
exactly.
Business.
I've lost control of my show. So I want to talk about what you said when you got so annoyed with him because he wouldn't let you talk and he wouldn't let you talk about your feelings and he just wanted to fix it. So have you never been the guy that's been the fix-it?
No, I think I have been the guy in past relationships that has been the fix-it guy. That's why I can see both sides of it now. Because as the guy that needs the space to just share that story, I never understood my need to emote. Is that a proper
Yes.
word in this particular case?
Yes.
I never felt an understanding why I needed that. Like that's when that happens to me, whether it's in a relationship, like a romantic relationship or within a friendship, when it happens between two guys, oftentimes the other guy will just like dismiss it, just like shut the fuck up. And I really feel the need to connect with my feelings sometimes. And there are some times when I am with someone, especially if a female, that I feel like I can have a conversation and I can go pretty deep in that conversation without understanding that is helping me get in touch with my feelings. I just always think, oh, this is really cool. I'm having a good friendship. There's a good level of relatability. I find that tends to be why I tend to be, I have a lot of girls that are friends. And I relate perfectly to them. And there is no sexual charge between the two of us. It's just I like to be able to connect with someone, and oftentimes it's not a guy. A guy is not gonna, like Troy at lunch today, we just had a really good conversation about that I miss my brother and feelings and things that two guys don't normally talk about. So I like that.
Well, I think that guys would talk more if they felt safe, right? So we talked about safe conversations, and I still have yet to have the schedule, the booking of Helen and Harville coming back on the show to talk about safe conversations, but we are absolutely doing that. Which is again what led me today to think about why don't we do an event called Improved Communication, because that's what all of this does, and who doesn't want that? Now, but as you were mentioning, men don't care about communication, and I don't think that's true. I think that more men that are more conscious. I'm not going to say evolved because it's really about conscious. You can still be a focused, have a lot of masculine energy, want to make the money, want to have great sex, all the good stuff. But in order to get any of that, you have to have some kind of communication to make it happen. You can't have great sex without some kind of communication. It might be nonverbal, but it needs to be communication.
Well, you just named me. I was listening to those qualities or those traits, characteristics, and I thought, yeah, I want to make money. Yeah, I want to be successful. Yeah, I want to have great sex. Yeah, I want to communicate. I want all of those things. Those things, I don't think that you can have a relationship without those things. I don't think you can have a good relationship without those things as a part of your relationship.
I'd agree, but in thinking of how do you get, maybe in
How do you get there?
Well, no, thinking about like how do you get power, and before it was muscle strength or it was outsmarting somebody in a duel. Right? I'm like thinking about like prehistoric here. Like, go back a little bit, and what in the masculine way is power, and how do you get it? Same thing with money, and maybe it was done by force and sex. So we're in an era of the desire for more communication on all levels and on all sides. And I know, based on some of the work that I've done with some bodies of work that talk about the difference between men and women, that if a woman is quiet long enough, let's say I ask you a question. Now you're a talker, so you're going to just talk and you're not going to get offended. Many men don't like to be interrupted. So if you're talking and I feel like, oh, I connect with that. See, women, we talk over top each other because if we don't, we feel like we're not listening.
How does that work?
It works fine in person or on video, but I have to be honest, recently it happened on the show, and it made me realize, and I need to tell guests when we're doing an interview, especially women, we have to talk like men. So let me finish, and then you go, and then when you finish, I'll go. Because when you talk over top of each other on an audio podcast, I think it's annoying.
I think that just when you said that term, we have to talk like men. I think that I know said in a tongue-in-cheek way, that's a ha-ha. It's spoken to a woman that has some feelings and is in touch with her own power. Might have a tough time with that. Why am I going to lower myself to a man's standards? But I agree with you.
Well, because on an audio podcast, people can't hear what I'm saying if you're talking over top of me.
Okay, I would just leave out the terms. You have to
I didn't say it like that. I'm saying it now like that.
Yeah.
Because it was someone who we both have interviewed. She's been on my show a couple times, and she kept talking over top of me, going, yeah, because it's that connection. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, that doesn't work. Like, I really needed to tell you, and she has her own show. I need to tell her, like no, like we need to, And some people, this is why some people do their interviews on video so they can see each other. And I want you to be so in tune with me that you're listening for the breaks, that you don't have to watch me. You're listening. So anyway, but men, and I know I've dealt with this for a long time, that if you interrupt them, so let's say you're talking about something and I get an idea and I want to tell you and I interrupt you, some men are so focused that means you lose your train of thought. And so then it gets very frustrating for men to get back into the thought. So now they're mad at you for interrupting them and they feel disrespected. And now they can't get back to their train of thought and they give up. So a lot of men just cower and think, I'm not even going to talk because you're going to interrupt me anyway. And it's not even worth trying because you can't shut up long enough to let me talk. And it is really, women, a big thing. If you have something you want to ask your man and you really want to know, shut up. Like, for a long time. Don't try to, meet him with a story or say, oh my God, yeah, I totally understand. Literally put a piece of tape over your mouth for 5 straight minutes and let him talk. And you and I both have, again, enough masculine and feminine in both of us that I think we play off this just fine. And you don't have that idea of disrespect because you're more like your mom and words are your thing. So, you don't get triggered when I want to contribute. You may not love it, but you don't get triggered by it, but some do. So when I thought about, could we just do an event on communication? Because if a man can communicate to a woman and she actually hears him, and if a woman can communicate to a man and he actually hears her, there's going to be better sex. There's going to be a better relationship, which then could lead to more power and money. But why is it that you think men wouldn't come to an event that's about communication?
I just think that the fact that men hear the word communication automatically creates a problem.
Why?
Because they don't feel like communication is the issue. Men in general don't feel like communication is the issue. Men in general feel like if she would just shut up long enough for me to solve the problem, we wouldn't have to communicate that much. I don't think that there is enough. I don't think there's enough pain behind what a man is. There's not enough pain in the situation for a guy to say communication is the reason why we don't get along. Communication is not the reason why we don't have sex. Communication is not the reason why we don't have a better understanding of each other. Communication is not the reason why we don't make enough money in this family. Communication is not the reason why I could fill in the blank anything. It's not communication to a guy. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's not communication. How could communication be the root of all evil in a relationship?
But it was for you.
I realize that on this side of it. So when you are in the middle of it, you don't know what's going on. Like, for those that are in our community listening to this right now, do you think that, and I'm thinking specifically of many examples that I've heard over the last months, and I'm thinking that the guy in the relationship does not feel like, if I could just figure out how to communicate more effectively with my spouse, my wife, this relationship would be so much better. Because if it was that simple, wouldn't everybody do it?
Of course. But what about the idea of feeling not heard or understood? How does someone get to be seen and heard and understood if you don't communicate? You knew that in your last relationship, you felt like she didn't talk to you.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying here. The knowledge of communication being the issue is step one. The practice of actually doing something about the communication is another. You might say to me, I could say, oh my gosh, my entire relationship was horrible because she wouldn't communicate with me. She was always processing, or I couldn't get through to her, or she couldn't get through to me, or she didn't think I was listening to her, or I didn't think she was listening to me. Okay, that's the problem. All of that is the problem. And that boils down to communication. It's not the fact that we thought that communication wasn't the issue. We knew communication was the issue. We didn't have the solution. So it's not like I'm going to go to I didn't think going to a conference or a retreat about communication was going to be the solution. I thought that we had to work it out together. We have to work this out. I didn't know what that meant.
And how did that work for you?
It didn't.
At what point, though, did you say, we have to work this out and I'm going to use something new? Because apparently you all didn't have the tools to do it.
Well, that's just it. We didn't have the tools to do it. And once I realized what the tools were, it was too late. I was willing to use the tools and she wasn't willing to use the tools. I was willing to leave copies of the love languages, 5 love languages. What's the name of the book?
Yeah, 5 love languages.
Yeah, right. I was willing to leave that book around everywhere just pick it up. Just pick it up. Maybe the reason that we're not communicating properly is because my love language is words of affirmation and yours might be acts of service or touch or quality time. I think it was quality time for her.
What about gifts?
I don't think it was gifts.
Okay.
I don't think it was gifts. I just think that we weren't communicating. I was trying to fill her cup up with words, and words were not her love language. I had no fucking clue. So as simple as that, as simple as opening up a book that has these stupid 5 love languages that are the best thing in the world to understand that. The best thing in the world is to be able to understand that the wounds that I have are the creation of so many of these problems that I'm having with my partner. For me to be able to have a couple's dialogue, oh my God, a couple's dialogue to create a safe environment, how simple is that? Me sit down and share with you the problems and you just listen and provide the safe space.
Right. Well, it's a script. So A, you have to be aware of it, and B, you have to be willing to use it. Do you know how many people would probably not be willing to use it because they would feel restricted having a script?
The script is the best part about it.
Right. The script is why it works.
The script is why it works, absolutely, because you are blaming everything on that script. Hey, I can't go off of this script and you can't go off of your script. And that is fine, with the exception of saying the reason why we're, sender receiver, why we're having this talk.
Well, so we wanted to talk about this because you were charged up about it after recording with Strickland, and you kind of got on your rampage about why men needed to learn this. Was that what you were thinking?
I do. I think that men need to learn this. The problem is, how do you get a man to sit his ass at a conference or a retreat for 2 days so that they're actually going to create that environment where you guys can have a dialogue? Your husbands, ladies, if you're out there, or your others, whoever that is for you, they need to be in a place that you can have safe communication with each other, and they need to understand that the best way to get through it is to just get the exercises done, is to start the practice. Without the practice, I don't care what practice you do, but there's got to be a practice.
I was just thinking about how recently someone from my past who's known me before the podcast, she reached out to me because she was thinking she needed some help, and thought, I wonder if you're the right person. And I realized, because she doesn't listen to this show and she doesn't know what I do anymore, really. And I don't know that she ever really knew what I did, but I thought, she said, I don't know if you're the right person. And I said, well, why wouldn't I be? And I didn't say it in a defensive way. I was literally wondering, what is it you believe about me that makes you think I wouldn't be the right person? And she said, I don't know, whatever. She kind of went into, what she wanted. And I started to talk, and I realized, wow, I've never needed to articulate all of this stuff, because I take for granted that those of you that listen to the show know what to expect when you reach out to me, because you've listened to the show. And even some of you who are who've come to the live event after 2 weeks of listening to the show, thanks Charlene, and are part of the mastermind group, the Inner Circle Mastermind, because you listened to your gut and you followed your intuition and it clicked and it resonated. you kind of had an idea coming in what we were going to talk about. And I love that. And I love conducting business that way because it's best for all of you to know who I am and for me to know you know, and I don't have to explain it. We can just get to work.
Well, right. You can lower that window of skepticism, which usually takes 24, 48 hours to break through. And sometimes you never break through it because all you keep thinking is, what is on her agenda? And understanding to know JJ is to know that there is not an agenda other than the healing that is provided at the retreat. There is no sales agenda to get anyone. There's no hidden agenda to get something that's on her side met. It's all in which how to better yourselves.
So talking about this communication piece, the issue was like health coaching and mindset coaching and not really taking care of yourself and not wanting to feel restricted in how you eat or your exercise. And I kind of had to, go slowly and say, well, maybe I'm not the right person because I actually go a little deeper. We look at childhood wounds, and not to scare the shit out of everybody because that normally would make someone go like, what's this going to take 10 years? I said, no, I use tools that literally get there in 2 sessions.
And what most people are going to not understand is, how do you do that?
Through the Imago work.
Right. I know that.
But I understand, like after going through therapy with my ex and going through different kinds of therapies, and then really I streamlined the shit out of this stuff. I found these tools to make this so fast. Now, does it mean you're going to change overnight? No, but at least if you have an awareness of what's going on and you can slowly or figure out what the best path is for you.
That's part of the issue. I think that the guys are not going to understand that there is a solution to this. They're going to want to fix it themselves in an arena that they understand and that they're comfortable with and that they've grown up with. They're not going to want to fix it from a textbook. I think that's part of the resistance. When you first gave me that Imago therapy workbook, I was a little resistant to it. I think your ex was. I don't even think he filled it out the first time that he...
No, he filled everything out but the last page.
But the last page is
which
the
is
page
like
that
the page,
solves all
right?
the problems.
Right. That's the problem-solving page. That's where all the magic happens in the last page.
All the magic happens on that last page, and if you don't know what we're talking about, I'm sure there's probably an episode or 2 or 7 or a worksheet that you have online somewhere. Do you have that online?
No, but you can buy the Getting the Love You Want workbook. It's in there. Or if you work with me, then I send them to you.
Yeah, so most guys are not going to look at that and say, is it as easy as... Yes, it is as easy as filling out a 3-page, 4-page worksheet and understanding. Like JJ said, it's not that you're going to solve the problems, but you will have an understanding of where the problems came from.
But here's what I love about what I do and how I've formulated this is that most people want to go through years and years of therapy, and half the time I get it. Like there's a whole protocol that therapists have to go through about earning your trust, and it could be 2, 4, 6 sessions until you actually get anywhere, depending on how schooled you are coming into it and how aware you are. If you're a victim, it's going to take a long time because they have to try to convince you or pull out of you or wait for you to discover that you are being a victim. And what I love about the work that I'm doing is that it just cuts to the chase right away. All of your issues literally come out of this page. You can figure out you can trace back every trigger, every hurt, every relationship gone sour from literally doing the Creating Your Imago worksheet. Now, what to do about that, that's a different story. But when we can identify why you are the way you are and why things have unraveled the way they are, then we have something to work with. Now we can say it's literally like mechanics. Like you take the car apart to see what's wrong with it. That's what we have to do emotionally too. The difference is car, you can replace the part. There's no emotion. When you're looking at your life, somehow we've attached shame and guilt and blame and sadness and remorse and depression and anxiety to all of these things. And it doesn't have to be that way. It can literally be an observer perspective of why do I act that way? And I can remember way before becoming more conscious that I've always asked myself, why do I react that way? What just happened right there? I mean, I'm going back years. Like when I lived in New York and I would meet women that I automatically didn't like, and I felt no energetic connection to them, I would question, am I jealous? Did they say something or look at me in a funny way? Why is it that I don't like them? I'd come to find out that most of the time, astrologically, they were the opposite of me, which said a lot. And they were probably the same masculine, feminine balance and profile as me. So we repelled each other. And it wasn't that I like hated them. I just didn't feel called to them. Like I didn't feel warm and fuzzy. I didn't feel like I could like wanted to spend lots of time with them. I just felt nothing. And I thought, this is weird. But I was at least aware enough to ask myself the question, why do I act that way? Why do I feel that way? Why did I react that way or say the things that I said?
So here's where there's a little bit of fly in the ointment now. When you pose the question, why do I act that way? Or why did I react that way? Or why do I feel that way? You can do that introspectively. You can take that sentence and you can apply it to yourself, and you can start to do some work, even without imago. If that's the sentence that you're using, that is a really great, I mean, it doesn't tell you what the wound is, and it doesn't tell you if it's coming from anger, sadness, jealousy, envy, any of that stuff. But it will tell you, it will get you to be conscious of the fact that, wow, that's interesting. I wonder why I felt that way. I wonder why I'm jealous. I wonder where that came from. But you can't tell somebody else that. You can't say to your spouse, can you stop just 1 second? Can you just ask yourself the question, why did I just do that?
No, but you can ask them the question, why did you feel that way? Why did you react that way? What do you can ask.
But if you're asking someone that is not conscious that question, you're running in a circle that you will never get. You will never get into the center of that circle.
Well, never say never. I'm gonna agree that it's probably not. I mean, I think it'd be great to plant the seed. I'm hoping, and I'm waiting, and I know it's going to happen. I've talked about the client of mine that I've had for about 10 years now who had back pain, and I told him initially it was emotional, and he didn't pay any attention to me, and then it's taken 8 years, and he is now on the team, guys. He's on the team. So he gets it, he understands it, he's doing his work, he knows it's, that it's something emotional. And the minute someone else's back goes out, he's on top of them, wanting to tell them to go read this book, listen to this book, follow Dr. Sarno. And I've asked him to come on the show, and I won't call you out. And he's working up to it because he's not a talker. He's not, that kind of, he doesn't do that kind of work. But we
need another guy on the team.
But I need him because a couple other of my clients who are older men won't listen to me. And I need that voice to say, yes, she badgered me for 8 years. And I finally,
you don't think I'm a good mouthpiece for that?
No, you are, but you're not. You are open. You are so lovely in your lack of resistance to so many things, emotional, that's what I love about you. And most men, because you guys are actually more sensitive than women.
2020 is the year of non-resistance for me. So
Right
if you're
on.
listening to this and it is on its way in, or if it's already here, just know that if you call Doug non-resistant Doug, you're getting the non-resistant Doug. I'm a little bit like Teflon right now. I'm pretty resistant, but I'm not 100%. If you kind of, if you rub something that's metal on me, I might scratch. But next year, doesn't matter.
You do not have a lot of resistance. You do have resistance. We all do, but you don't have a lot of it. But most men, women too, have resistance to being uncomfortable, to feeling stupid, to feeling like shame, and feeling like they don't know the answer, not getting it right. There's all of that kind of stuff. And again, it's not just men; women do too. But when it comes to someone who's set in their ways, like let's talk about. You said it's not worth to ask that question. I went back and I told the story at the boot camp. This particular client who has come to one of my events, my very first Releasing What Weighs You Down, after I badgered him and his brother and another coworker, because I literally made these events for people like them, people that I worked with who I was exercising and helping them build muscle and lose fat and work on their cardiovascular.
You're discovering a behind-the-scenes reason for a lot of these ailments.
Well, I already knew that, but I knew that I couldn't get the work done with them. Like I knew I could help them, but I couldn't help them in a one-on-one session twice a week for an hour. When they were wanting exercise, I can't lump that all together. We weren't going to get anywhere with that kind of work. And so I realized this needs to be an immersion process. We need to look at the whole picture together at one time. And when he actually told me he was going to come, I cried because I felt this wave of relief of, oh my God, there's hope. Oh my God, there's hope that we're going to get through some of this stuff and that you're going to have an aha awakening moment and you'll become conscious. And it's happened, but it took about 1.5 years after that initial event for other events. So I don't want to give up on people. He's in his 60s. He's in his 60s. And so, there was hope. And it's not, again, it's not about me, guys. I don't care. It's your life, everybody. What you do is what you do. But if you're listening to this show and you're attracted to this information and you're not happy in your life, there is hope for you that it can be fixed because you're willing to maybe ask the right question or pick up the phone or possibly consider reading a different book or coming to a webinar or possibly coming to an event or having a session. You're open enough. And that should hopefully bring you hope. I don't mean to should you, but that hopefully brings you hope that you can get what you want out of life, whether it be better sex, a better relationship, more money, more power, better communication, ease, peace. I don't know. What else? What do you want,
But
Doug?
if you're not there yourself first, it's going to be very challenging for you to bring someone into the fold of that. If you're not conscious yourself, the biggest problem that you're going to encounter is going to be your emotions and your feelings, the way that you get affected when you present something to your spouse and they don't listen to you. They don't just hop on the bandwagon. You've been drinking the Kool-Aid now for a long time. Some of you a little bit shorter than others, but some of you have been listening to, how many episodes of Women, Men, and Relationships do you have out there right now?
190 something?
So some of you have been listening for 100 plus episodes. You're there. You understand. And when I say drink the Kool-Aid, I mean that in a very positive way. You're on the team. You want to fix the relationship. You want to fix yourself. Those of you that are just being indoctrinated and all excited, just kind of like those of you that recently came to the retreat, but this was your first experience or one of your earlier experiences with this type of therapy, let's call it. You go home, and what happens as soon as you go home? The reality of life smacks you right in the face. Everybody wants to know, what'd you do this weekend? Because you have that different look about you right now. You have that look about, oh my gosh, things can actually be better. And they're going to try to suck you back down into the reality of life. And they are the non-believers. And I'm not saying that from a cultish perspective. I'm saying that in a, I want to be healed perspective. I want to feel better about myself. And that has nothing to do with you. It only has to do with me.
Preach.
Right.
So you brought this topic up yesterday. So I just want to make sure we've covered, Doug Sandler, what it is that you felt very passionate about talking about. Do you feel like you've communicated effectively to the men out there how that women, why don't you tell them all things that you were yelling at Strickland about? That you just wanted to be heard, don't fix it, just give me the space to just let me talk, let me vent.
I was even creating a situation where the reality of our show is we have a 30-minute show that we need to put together. And if I go through an issue and he just says, okay, I hear you, let's move on. And I'm like, if there's nothing to move on to, I have 28 minutes. I want to sit there. So it gives me an opportunity to say, Strick, I have 30 minutes. I need to be able to share this experience in more than just let me tell you the problem and let you solve it opportunity here. I need it to be so that you give me a space in which I'm going to share my feelings. And sometimes it's going to require me just monologuing for 29 minutes and you on the other side saying, is there anything else? And that is going to be the end of it. I look at it and say, okay, let's take this conversation to a different place. Let's take this conversation and just say, you and I are just going to we're just going to talk. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking. We're not going to fix either of our problems. We're just going to have a conversation. If we get into a spot where I feel like you're trying to fix a problem that I have, maybe you sit there with a little sign that says, stop. It's just a stop sign. Just a little baby stop sign. Maybe there's something in this. Is there business here?
Well, you know that sometimes I'm that person too, because I have the tools and I want to come fix it.
I know.
And that's me.
I know.
And there are times where I just, less rare though recently, where I want to vent. Like with the kittens, that was the one time that I just wanted to cry, and I thought, God, I hope you're not going to try to fix this away. And you didn't. No, you were perfect. But I can relate to both sides of that. There are times where that was a case where I wanted to just cry and just be sad. But there are times where when I'm working with someone or I hear the same story over and over again, that I'm like, is it time to fix it yet? Can we do something about this yet? Or you just want to keep talking about it?
Well, there are times when I will share a problem with you and, we haven't created the safe space or we haven't said the words to each other that says, hey, can you just give me some opportunity to vent here? And I will tell you a problem and you'll refer to an episode. And I will just I want to raise my hand and say, wait, I don't want a solution here. I just want you to listen to me. I know you have the tools. I know you do. And I know you're great with them. But sometimes it's not about the tools. It's about me being able to share. And I love that.
And have I done that recently? Have I clipped you wanting to share recently?
No, not recently at all. You're either making a conscious effort to not solve the problems every time, or you're waiting for me to ask you, hey, is there something that you can help me with to help resolve this problem that I'm having?
You know, I think part of that for me is the trust. Like, I know you trust that I can help. I mean, you were a client first before you were my boyfriend. So you hired me to help you, even though it wasn't necessarily on the emotional side. It was more on the physical side. But because I trust that you trust me, because I know you know what I do, because I know you reflect me back to me like no one really ever has on a business and intellectual side about what it is I do offer and that well-roundedness about that. I mean, you know, my ex and other people, they've seen me in ways, but you actually appreciate all of those things to a level that is new for me, and I really appreciate that. So because I know you trust me, I
just think about if I made another $100,000 a year, that would be what it would be cost me in therapy that I get from you every through the course of the year, because I get therapy. I love it. You're so good at it now that I literally can have a conversation with you, look at you, watch your blank stare back at me and say, I know the answer to this because you've given it to me, and all I needed to do is be in your presence. And now I could just be, let me just look at a picture of her on my phone now. And soon it will be, let me just think about what JJ would do. And you know what's really great about that? That just reminded me of something. This is really interesting because I'm just putting this together now. My dad died in 1996. I can't tell you how many times since 1996, whenever I have a business decision to make, I've had to think about, what would my dad do? What would my dad be saying at this particular moment? And I get caught sometimes in my own head when a problem comes up. Before I go into, what should I do? How should I solve this? I think, what would JJ do? And when I do something like that, I'm thinking, okay, she knows her shit, and you do know your shit. I'm very proud of you. I'm your biggest fan, and you know that. That's why we're incorporated.
So sweet. Thanks, babe. No, but I appreciate that, and I think, like you said, I haven't done it recently because I think part of my issue with my ex or with other people is I've been trying to prove. Like, I didn't felt seen or heard. So, like, friends that didn't work out, right? I want to help because I want to help your experience. I want to help you feel better and not feel bad and not be sad and not feel shame and not feel embarrassed. And I see that too many people just over and over again continue to be a victim to that. And I'm like, do you seriously want to sit in this? Like, I get when you can say, I just need the space to cry. Cool. Can we change it? Do you want to change it? And so I have never felt like I could actually provide all of my gifts to any one person or a group of people before the podcast. So I think I was just trying to selfishly get myself seen and heard. And so I was not meaning to. Not selfishly in the way that I was not trying to help people. I was trying to help people, but I think it served me because I was trying to prove to you, right? So because I was insecure, I'm trying to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about, so you'll trust me, so that you'll come to me. So it was this vicious cycle of, I'm insecure because I don't feel like I've been reflected back to, and sometimes I don't even know if I think I know what I'm talking about because no one else seems to be listening. This was before the show, and because all my clients wanted just exercise and weight loss. Nobody wanted to talk about emotions and all that good stuff and astrology. And now that I've evolved everything into the same, and I now pretty much put my foot down and said, look, don't call me. Don't work with me. Like, thinking back to the conversation I had 2 days ago with the person who doesn't listen to the show. And I said to her, look, if it's not the right fit, I'm okay with that. I don't want you to waste your time or money, and I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, because think about the first session or two that somebody is sitting in with you where you've sold them into that position, and all they're trying to do is prove to themselves why they shouldn't be here. Instead of, I've listened to her now for a year talking on her podcast. I understand the process that she goes through, and I already believe that this philosophy is something that works. So I'm going to listen from minute one. It's kind of like somebody meeting you for the first time, and I've seen that starstruck look in people's eyes when they meet you for the first time. It's like, oh my God, it's JJ. And that's a good feeling to have. I mean, it's a good position to be in, but it is the reality of what you do. Is you are that good, but the people that don't know you,
Don't know
you're a local celebrity. You know, you're right.
Yeah, on the podcast.
Right.
Not actually in my local community, just in the podcast,
Correct,
which
right,
is all
that's what I
over
mean.
the world, by the way. Yeah, and so back to the point of communication, I was able to articulate to this person what it is that I did, and I felt confident and comfortable enough to say, it's okay if it's not the right thing. I'm unwilling to not do what I do because I can help you. But if you're uncomfortable in what I do, I'm not the right person. Like I mentioned astrology, and she pretty much said she rejects astrology. And I was like, then I'm probably not the right person for you. I don't need you to believe in astrology or make it a religious belief. I use it for my own understanding of how to talk to you, how you listen, how you interpret information, how you see the world. I do it whether I tell you about it or not. But since I started Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, I thought, hey, I bet you people would maybe even pay for this and be because I just do it so naturally, and half the time I'm pretty right on about most of it. So when it comes to the energetic play of how you again use it to benefit either relationships or your resistance to exercise or self-care or whatever. So do you feel, Doug, that you have successfully communicated your plea to the men or the fixers out there?
No, I don't, because they're not listening. They're not here.
No, some of them are, because a lot of the women...
okay. For those of you out there in our community that are men, I challenge you then. I challenge you to show up. I challenge you to show up, whether it's to an event or through email or communication or something. Show up. Make yourself known. That's what I would say. Make yourself known. Look, I've been on this show now for a year, right? Something like a year?
Yeah.
I've been on the show for a year. I share my philosophy. I'm a man. I'm a Mustang driving, Harley riding, whiskey drinking dude. But I also like to dance the cha-cha slide, and I like to share my feelings, and I like to cry at sad movies, and I like to love up on my girl. I mean, I like that stuff. But guys, put down the act for just a moment. Just get in touch with your feelings and reach out through email, through communication, through attendance of events, anything. I don't give a shit what it is. Reach out to me, Doug at turnkeypodcast.com. Let JJ know. You could just send me an email if you wanted to and just say, hey, Doug, right on. I am with you. Doug at turnkeypodcast.com. Just reach out to me. I promise you will be in a safe space. If you send me an email and you say, I don't want this communicated with anybody else, we won't read your email. I will just say a silent right on, and we will continue our work. But guys, if you're out there, I want to know who you are, because I want to feel some sense of community, that I'm not just talking. I don't mind talking to women, but I'm not just talking to the women, because women are just half of the issue. The other half of the issue is the men in their lives, and we need to, and sorry, if I'm talking masculine energy, feminine energy, so if it's a male and a female, you know what I mean. Just let yourself be known, and I will take care of you. I will cradle you.
Guys, if you only knew how much I would take the pressure off of you and blame your women for how they emotionally manipulate you. Like, I have my male clients that I work with on a regular basis feel very justified all the time, because I can understand how their women emotionally manipulate them. Now, it's your fault for taking it, because you don't have the tools on what to do about it. But I'm all for, it's not the men's fault. You never hear me complain that, men, like I don't man bash. I don't emasculate men.
No.
But some people think I do, or some people think I did. I've never set out to emasculate anybody. This is a person to a person. How do we operate?
Can we understand that this is not a show for women? This is not a show that's directed at women. This could be maybe your menopause show. Maybe that is.
No, men go through andropause.
Okay, all right, fine. Well, you could have called it the menopause andropause show, but it was the menopause show, and everybody that was on that webinar was a woman, right? With the exception of. Well, okay. All right. So I'm saying that this show is not just directed to women. This show is directed to everyone. And ladies, if there's a way that you can get your guy to listen to an episode or two, or maybe I need to do a solo episode of this show and just for men only. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I'm a little scared of monologues. We talked about that tonight.
All right. Well, maybe we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, reach out, everybody. Hopefully today got you thinking about maybe a little bit more introspection of why you act the way you do. And if you're allowing space for people's feelings to come up. A man is not going to tell you his feelings in an unsafe space, and a woman doesn't know how to shut up half the time, guys. Sorry. So women, when you ask your men, or it doesn't even matter how they are men to you in your world, it could be any relation, just be quiet, like longer, like in an uncomfortable silence. Be uncomfortably silent for such a long time so they feel safe.
Nod your head.
Yep. Just
Like,
just sit still, be quiet, and let them talk. And if that's still not safe enough, then maybe you even ask them, hey, do you feel safe around me? Do you feel like there's a safe space for you to talk to me and for us to be real with each other? And let that might scare you, because the answer might be no. But let's have some hard realities here, because we're not going to shift any relationship dynamics unless we get real. So with that said, thank you, Doug, for the awesome reaction you had to Strickland being a total dude yesterday in your recording, and you wanting to impart this new awareness that you have onto men so they can improve their relationships and have an outlet for their feelings.
Go dudes.